Hey, it's your friend Kaki here, and on this week's episode of So Farscape, where we're reading a fanfic story, it turns out that this story, which is very, very good, does include fairly graphic depictions of a life-saving medical procedure. So if anyone's a bit sensitive to that, maybe best to skip this one. But it's a very good story, and it does turn out okay. Just fair warning.
Hello and welcome to Tales of the Uncharted Territories.
Yes, the sort of off-week episode of So Farscape, where we read Farscape fanfiction and sometimes even sneakily read some licensed fiction, as a few weeks ago.
No, we would never do that.
No, exactly. This week we're reading a story by LissaM called The Trouble with Humans.
Disclaimer, yada yada yada, they aren't mine and Henson owns them, which is okay by me, smiley face.
Rating PG-13, language and some gore. Ew. Oh, yeah, published in June 28th, 2001, although we're never quite sure whether that's the actual publication date or just the upload date, because it looks like, I don't know.
I mean, it's not going to be from later than that.
Right, no, exactly. Yeah. That's not how time works. And in this story, Crichton has to deal with an unfortunate human problem, and Erin and Dargo are faced with saving him. Oh, so this is LissaM's first Farscape fanfic. So comments, good or bad, are greatly appreciated. Oh, we really must send them an email and let them know that we're reading this, because I wonder if they've written more Farscape fanfic after this.
Who knows? So now enjoy The Trouble with Humans.
Erin and Zan, my heart leaps every time that I see a fic with Zan still in it. Erin and Zan walked down the corridor in Tier 23 and to the galley. Erin was speaking animatedly to the Delvian.
I still don't understand your reasoning behind this. Going on a spiritual retreat for 50 hours is not my idea of a practical choice. What are you going to do? What if we need you?
The two stepped through the galley's doorway, revealing John Crichton at a table in the corner, the blue-skinned Delvian turning to Erin, gesturing slowly.
Well, as a former priest... No, wait, that's wrong. Shit, I was trying to go for Australian, but...
It's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a former free... No,
yeah, you take it. You go straight... You take it. I'll pick it up from you. You're
Australia,
better.
Okay. Ricciardo, Daniel Ricciardo. As a former priestess, I still find it necessary to go on a spiritual sabbatical once in a while to cleanse my soul of impurities. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm sort of easing in through New Zealand. She gazed at John, who sat breaking up food cubes into bits on his tray. She turned back to Erin. For some reason, I feel this retreat is already long overdue.
That's the one.
There we go, I got there.
Erin gave Zan a smirk in response, and they brought their food to where John sat. He glanced up at them.
So, Zan, where are you going exactly?
The Delvian replied, I'll be planetside, that's all I'll say.
John humphed loudly. Oh, thanks, Zan, that helps. What if something happens?
What can happen in 50 yards, John Crichton? She answered, thinking, famous last words. Erin, noticing John was merely pushing his food around on his tray, furrowed her brow. What's the matter, human? Food not good enough for you? She gestured, taking a large bite of a brown cube.
I love that she's sort of Mary Poppins in your
that's what I'm going for.
I really like that. John laughed sarcastically. No, it can't possibly be that. Not food cubes, the essence of life, he said, bowing before his plate. After receiving an annoyed look from the Sebastian, he answered, Nah, I just don't feel like eating.
Zan gasped, feigning shock. John Crichton, not hungry? Are you feeling all right?
John laughed again. Ha ha, funny.
Erin raised her hand and looked around as if expecting to be called on. Is it right if I think it's funny?
They all laughed at that, and Crichton threw a food cube at her. She caught it and popped it into her mouth, which made them laugh even more.
The entire crew showed up at the docking bay to see Zan off.
No.
She waved at the unlikely bunch and cried out, Do not worry, we'll be back soon. She and Rigel clambered into the pod, closing the hatch doors.
Okay, so she's going off for a sabbatical sort of spiritual retreat.
And Rigel is going along for no reason apparent. As Rigel is wont to do.
Actually, yeah, that's really in character. As they watched the pod jet off to the purple planet below, Dargo grumbled, I still do not see, because he doesn't use contractions.
Very good.
Why she had to bring that Hynerian menace with her. Oh, there you go. How he will give her aid on a spiritual retreat, I'll never know.
Really, Dargo, I'm shocked. I thought you'd be happy to see him go, Erin Sun said, smiling playfully.
John punched the taller man's shoulder. Hey, you got a soft spot for our little friend, admit it. Ow. John clutched the right side of his lower torso. Dargo turned his head toward him. Erin placed a hand on Crichton's arm. "What's wrong?" she asked, worried in her eyes.
John took a breath, then answered, "Nothing. It's nothing. I just got a twinge here for a second." He straightened and began to walk down the hallway, the other two aliens flanking him.
When I said "ow," I thought that maybe Dargo had punched him
That's
back,
what
but
I thought as well,
not.
yeah. I thought it was like the other two aliens. There's only aliens here. Everybody is aliens. It's like...
"Are you sure?" Dargo questioned, eyeing him suspiciously. Yeah, said Crichton. Let's go see if Pilot needs anything. As he strode off, Erin and Dargo looked at each other, shrugged, and followed the human.
Gathered later in the control room, the crew members were fixing various parts around the deck. Erin was tinkering with the DRD that had lost an antenna. John was attempting to repair a navigation console, and Dargo with tackling a scanning device. Pilot was constantly in the way, lending all the help he could.
What does that mean? Being in the way and lending all the help that you...
I mean,
okay, well...
like Pilot's like, "Get out of the way," and Pilot's like, "I'm sitting here, I live
exactly.
here." This is like,
how can Pilot be in the way? I mean, it was probably on the comms.
Part of the crew, part of the ship.
Let me see. Who do you think that is? Erin, probably. "John, how do you expect to receive any energy for that console if you don't convert the output manifold?"
John grumbled under his breath. "Geez, where's a good old AC converter when you need one?"
AC converter? What's that? Erin asked, puzzled.
John began to explain, then stopped. "Nah, it's not worth explaining. Just some of your backward human technology, babe."
Dargo spoke up, not looking away from his work. "Why do you so often call Erin babe? She is not an infant."
"I know, big guy. It's just another
"Ah, yes, a human expression." Dargo's tone was that of frustration. John smiled.
Now Dargo sounds like Worf, but...
I mean, it kind of...
I know, yeah. Erin answered Dargo's statement. "His human expressions are never worth explaining. Why do you..."
"Ah!" John cried out and... Thank you.
Go on.
Thank you. Yeah. John cried out and doubled over the table, grabbing his side, face contorted in pain. "Oh, ow! Very ow!" he said, gasping.
Dargo stood up and raced to his side, Erin not far behind. Dargo actually looked concerned as he asked, "What's happened?"
John, his face a mask of pain... I mean, he's the only one not wearing prosthetics. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
His face a mask of pain breathed, "I don't know. God, it hurts!" He groaned, wincing in agony.
Erin grasped his shoulders and helped him to unsteady feet. "Whatever it is, we need to get you to the infirmary now," she said forcefully, and she and the Luxon led the limping human to the sickbay.
Once at the infirmary, Dargo propped Crichton on a table in the sitting position and held his shoulders to keep him from falling. He was breathing in short, quick gasps and was still clutching the hurt area. What is it? What is it?" he mumbled to himself. What is it? What is it?" he mumbled to himself, racking his brain for an answer.
"I'm going to go with appendicitis."
Ooh.
But...
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, loss of appetite. Acute pain.
Pain, yeah, it's roughly the right area for it, so...
Right. Oh, I like that.
"You're human, don't you know?" Erin snapped as she felt his forehead, which was warm.
Ooh, okay, so infection, yeah. John grimaced and tried to smile. "Sorry, Erin, I'm not a doctor, just your lowly physicist. I don't know the difference between..." John's eyes grew wide and his mouth hung agape. "Oh, shit," he said.
"What?" said Erin, looking into his eyes. He didn't see her, shaking his head while mumbling. Oh, shit, not now, not here. Oh, God."
Dargo grabbed the human by the shoulders and shook him hard. "Tell us, John, what is wrong?" Oh, yeah, that probably... "What is wrong?" she wrote.
Yeah.
They wrote.
John groaned. "Gee, Dargo, shake me a little harder next time. I almost didn't feel the waves of pain." He shifted on the table, gazing disdainfully at his injury. "It's appendicitis, okay?"
Yeah, high five. Good call. He had to answer in short bursts because breathing was difficult.
Oh, you missed one.
Oh, yeah. What, did he? Oh, yes, yeah. Dargo began to grumble. "That helps a lot." But Erin placed a hand on his wrist, stopping him. Composed, she said sternly, "What is appendicitis, John?"
He had to answer in short bursts because breathing was difficult.
Oof.
"It's an illness of the appendix, which is a small organ here." He pointed to the inflamed region on his torso. "It becomes infected sometimes with no known cause, but it will rupture if it's not removed in time. I'll probably die if that happens."
Maybe this is the point to add a sort of content warning to
Well, they
to
did
people
mention
who are...
some gore. So I
Yeah.
guess we're going to get some surgery or, you know...
I mean, this is becoming CPR-scape again. Okay. Dargo and Aaron exchanged worried looks. But won't you die if it's taken out? Aaron asked.
John grimaced painfully. No, it has no function. It's just there, left over from whatever mammal we evolved from.
Odd, Dargo said. Hey, fuck you, Dargo. You have this weird thing where you die if you bleed wrong, like
Right. Yeah.
on organs that you can't necessarily reach yourself. Also,
Fair point. Yes. Yeah. It's a barrel of laughs. Gee, John said as another wave of pain hit him.
I assume it has to be surgically removed. Aaron asked, fearing the answer.
Yeah, and soon. John grimaced and swayed a bit. Oh, a bit dizzy there, he said.
Dargo steadied him with a firm grip and said, "Well, we'll have to wait until Zan comes back."
John shook his head. No. If the pain's this bad now, later might be too late. He looked up at the anxious faces. One of you's going to have to operate, he said, realizing he might have just decreed his own death sentence.
Suddenly he jumped up, ran over to a basin on the floor and promptly threw up. Good for grabbing a basin. His body heaving, Aaron rested her hand on his back. Once he stopped convulsing, he turned to her, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. He smiled weakly. Are you up to it, Aaron?
She backed away, fear on her pale face. Me? No, I couldn't. I mean, that's tech
Aaron,
work.
Come on, yes, you're a tech.
Yeah.
Just admit it. It's just, tubes in there. It's basically, like, inside is basically just a switchboard. That's PK Tech.
Very good point.
It's
yes.
just tubes and slots and tubes and tubes and things. Okay, I'll do it, said Dargo confidently, standing tall.
And grabbed his Colter blade. No, wait.
Yeah. John nodded. Okay, let me think here, he said as the Luxon helped him to his feet. John was half carried back to the table, and once upon it, he lay down. Okay, bandages. You'll need some bandages and suturing equipment, scalpels. I might not have enough time to write it all down.
Aaron's panic-stricken face came into view.
Wait, no, you skip back one. You skipped one.
Oh, sorry, yes. Dargo spoke in an unnaturally soft voice. Then you might have to tell us what it is, what to do as we go along.
Aaron's panic-stricken face came into view. But that means, she put her hand to her mouth in horror.
John realized what she was getting at. You're going to have to operate while I'm awake.
Ooh.
Aaron nodded slowly, and Dargo bowed his head. John stared at the ceiling. Oh, shit, he said. This is going to hurt a lot.
Okay, let's all take a moment and just relax. And
Yes.
I'm going to assume that this story is going to turn out fine, and this is like a triumph of like ingenuity and like self-knowledge. Because, I mean, there but for the grace of God go we. You can be stuck in a very like in a less than ideal situation, have to deal with something like this, and then actually, yes, to prepare us, you have some like first aid experience, which I know doesn't cover obviously any surgery at all. But like, have you picked up like any awareness? I mean, I know of some people who've experienced like appendicitis themselves.
So have I. Yeah.
Right, so I know about the decompression test.
Right,
where
You push it into someone's stomach, and if it hurts when you release, then it's pretty sure that it's appendicitis.
I remember, like, someone told me about that being performed on them in the ER.
Yeah.
And no, they didn't have, I mean, they then reported, no, I didn't have appendicitis, because when they removed their hand, suddenly I felt great, and all the pain was gone.
Yeah, and that's like the worst thing, because that means it just burst.
Yes, that's right. And so they were rushed into
yeah, that's when they
the operating
immediately
room.
switch. That's when you get a top priority for the ER.
Yep.
They basically have to wash out your body cavity, like to get all the gunk out.
Yep.
That's not a good situation. That's
But so what
then
should
you
we...
don't get the tiny small scar. Then you get the huge one, if that happens.
I have one of those.
Oh, you have appendicitis?
Oh,
appendix
no.
was that?
It was like I was 2 days old, and I had to have. There was a little piece of intestine that hadn't grown right.
Right,
that had to be taken out. But I've got this really cool scar now that I make up lots of stories about. But so, what should we be expecting here? Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh well, I mean, traditionally speaking, there's like a few solutions. Like either you get them pissed drunk and you hold them down, and then they pass out from the pain sooner or later. Or, we don't know what kind of like painkillers that Zahn has managed to stash away in her apothecary.
I mean, considering how chill she is, it must be
pretty damn good.
Pretty good.
And there was, of course, the story of the Russian doctor who I believe it was called on the South Pole or somewhere, who actually had to perform an appendicitis on himself.
An appendectomy. Yes.
Appendectomy.
Okay.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah. I mean, he had people assisting him, but basically he had to do the work looking at a mirror while he was under partial anesthesia, perform the surgery on himself.
I mean, that's probably what's going to have to happen here, right? Nobody else knows his insides.
I mean, does he? I mean, I wouldn't know where to find my appendix. I mean,
It's on the right, isn't it?
yes, but even
Like,
then,
I know that because I've got the scar there.
yeah, but you can tell people, yeah, it's on the right, and then you go like, okay, which bit is it? It's like it's not.
Well, okay, so it's inflamed,
Yeah,
so it's going to be pink, not red,
I don't know.
right?
I don't know.
Inflamed things swell up, don't they?
Yeah, but there's like
And like in there, like all that tissue is properly. And again, like apologies to anyone who's sensitive to this, but I sort of imagine. I mean, you follow the. It's a little fork of your intestine, all right?
Right.
So you can feel along the. You can find your.
I mean, I don't know how many membranes you have to cut through to get there. What it looks like. What's on top of it? What do I have to move aside? Is it?
No, I don't think that's the case. Not like I think you've got the abdominal muscle.
Yeah.
And once you're through there, it's just free. Because I know this from medical programs that I watched as a child, which for some reason my mother always watched during dinner time, and I got really desensitized to this sort of thing. Where for some like intestinal surgery, like they make a tiny little incision and then they'll just pull guts out of the tiny little hole because you can just stuff them back
But that's
in.
when people know what they're doing. That's like when they know what to feel around for, and they go like, "Oh no, I got the wrong one. Now I need to pull the other ones."
No, but look, it's got two ends, right? One end of the intestinal tract goes into the stomach, and the other one goes where the sun don't shine.
You can't really feel around for that. You can't follow
you
it
can
around.
take it out.
Not if
and
you
then
don't know
look.
what you're doing.
Of course you can, as long as if you've got an opening, and you just
Yes, but imagine doing this for the first time. You've never seen this particular alien before. It's like,
I mean, yes, but this is the great thing about the intestine. It's got two ends.
I know.
And all the middle stuff, like you do. And afterwards, it's perfectly. You just stuff it back in. As long as it's clean, you just stuff it back in any old order, and it'll find its own, like, you don't have to coil it, right?
no, I know, but okay. I think we're drifting a little bit off topic here.
We really have. This is CPR scape. Oh, God, if only we had Crimson here. Okay, so this is going to hurt a lot. Your turn.
Dargo and Aaron had walked away from Crichton's side to talk. The Sebastian
believe
watched
us
John
sometimes.
as he bit his lip and clenched his hands in pain. She felt so much for him, but she realized that this was going to be one of the most difficult things she ever had to do. She glanced back to Dargo, who had been talking.
So I'll inject the area with a local anesthetic, and then you hold him down while I operate.
Okay, yes, good. Aaron had looked back at John.
Okay, you don't want a distracted intern who didn't listen to half the...
No.
Or nurse or practitioner or whatever. Okay. Dargo grumbled. Look, if you want him to get better, we're going to have to both be ready for whatever may happen. Are you ready, Aaron, son? He asked, almost as a challenge. Good.
Aaron shivered, then answered, I'm always ready for anything.
Good.
How could she reveal her true feelings to Dargo, letting him know that she had a weakness? She could never admit to that. She could barely admit it to herself.
Dargo's face softened. Good, he said. Then we should proceed quickly. We may not have much time.
Aaron nodded, and they both moved to where Crichton lay.
Crichton, we're ready to begin, Aaron said softly, and lay her hand on Crichton's feverish brow.
John shuddered. Okay, he answered weakly.
Aaron stood at the foot of his bed and held down his shoulders. As the big Luxon moved to make the initial cut with a small scalpel, John's head jerked off the table.
Big guy, you didn't give me a local, right? You
Dargo.
did give me a local, right?
Dargo answered. Of course, but you will still feel some pain. We couldn't administer too much or you'd zoink out on us.
That's zonk, Dargo. Never mind, John said, his head falling back to the table. He looked up at Aaron's green eyes, his own piercing blue ones filled with fear. I'm ready, Dargo. Go ahead.
All right, I'll sort of rush through this bit. As the knife slid through his fragile flesh, I said it'd get through. Okay, I'm going to have to do the opposite. I'm going to have to full on like
enunciate.
Yes. As the knife slid into his fragile flesh, John inhaled quickly at the unexpected pain. He gripped Aaron's hand, not caring at his obvious show of wavering stability. Oof.
Aaron tried to hide her concern for the human without luck. She watched as the Luxon cut open Crichton's tense abdomen, and she gasped when the blood began to seep. She felt Crichton grip her hand, and she squeezed it tightly. She looked down at their grasp, not wanting to face the surgery being done as a peacekeeper. Wait. As a peacekeeper, she was trained to withstand the sight of blood in all forms. She had assumed she'd be able to handle anything, but with a sickening realization, she discovered that cutting someone open without a thought of the consequences and cutting someone open in full hopes of saving that person were two totally different things. She didn't know how Dargo could stand it.
Respect. I mean, you don't know how you'd face that situation until you face it. I mean, she should be on mop-up duty at this point, though, right?
Yeah. But, hand-holding duty is also kind of important.
Yeah. Certainly since he's the head surgeon. Aaron refocused her gaze on John's face. His lips were white with pain and he was sweating lightly, but his eyes showed an enduring confidence she hadn't expected. It was almost as if he were comforting her, instead of the other way around.
Dargo finished making the first cut and got a DRD to hold the skin back in place. Clever.
Yeah.
His tattooed brow was furrowed in concentration. "I have cut, John Crichton."
"What do you see?" John's pain-filled whisper was almost too much for Aaron to... I don't want to do the pain stuff, so I'm just going to make him super high at this point. "What do you see?" John's pain-filled whisper was almost too much for Aaron to bear.
Much blood. I cannot see because of it."
"Then mop it up. You'll need the area to be as dry as possible." Dargo paled as much as LissaM can, then grabbed some strips of cloth and did the best he could to sop up the blood. When he had gotten it as clear as he dared, he spoke again.
"I see folds of skin, veins, arteries."
"I see folds of skin, veins and arteries.
Blood vessels too, between me and you."
All inside you. John didn't waste time with Dargo's recount of his anatomy. "The appendix is normally the size of my pinky."
"Your pinky?" Aaron asked curiously.
He weakly lifted his hand and moved his finger. "My smallest finger. It will have swollen to a larger size. I'm not quite sure how big."
Dargo poked around the opening looking for the organ. "I have discovered a smallish rounded organ about twice the size of your pinky. It is white and bulbous."
Ah, there you go. Inflamed, swollen, then it's going to be like pink, white. Crichton exhaled. "Is there anything else that could be it?"
"No," Dargo answered.
Good question.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the obvious one. Is it an extension of where the narrow, long thing connects to the thick, long thing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just follow the tube, and is there a twig off the side of the tube?
Pretty much,
then that's the one that you want. The one that you want. You are the one. Then that must be it. John squeezed Aaron's hand again, and she squeezed back. Her mind was racing. I would have screamed for mercy by now, she thought.
John posed another question. "How is it attached?" He waited in pain for a few more minutes while the LissaM discovered the answer. He busied the time with losing himself in Aaron's eyes. His own were filled with pain and grief, and hers mirrored his own.
"There seems to be an artery on one side that is connected to the organ." Dargo checked once more. "Yes, that is how it is attached. How shall we proceed in removing it?"
Crichton's eyelids fluttered and he began drifting off. His jaw unhinged and his head lolled to one side.
Does it have an artery on it?
I don't know.
Okay. Aaron, alarmed, gently... They must have done some research. Aaron, alarmed, gently slapped his face. "Hey," she said, using an earth term. Hey, come on now. Don't zonk out on us. Come on, we haven't finished."
Gradually, the human waded out of the void to which he had been heading and groaned. He gasped in agony, then said breathlessly, "Cut it out! Cut it out now and sew up the artery."
Dargo wasted no time and immediately sliced the thin vein. John cried out and began to lapse once more into unconsciousness. Aaron grasped his hand and called out to him, but he was too far gone to respond. Crichton caught the words, "hemorrhaging," and "too much," before he lost all senses completely and slipped into a blissful, pain-free oblivion.
He came to once, hours later, to a bright face above him and a cool hand on his forehead. He heard Aaron as she called his name almost pleadingly. Then his strength gave out again and he was out once more.
Aaron had been sitting by Crichton's ailing side for hours now. She wouldn't let Dargo take a shift, almost in fear of John waking when she wasn't there. She would replay the events after Crichton passed out over and over again in her mind, unable to escape them.
She had watched in horror as the human's eyes fluttered shut and then gazed at the blood gushing freely from the wound in his abdomen. Dargo had been at a loss and had frozen, needle in hand. Knowing that his life was literally in her hands, she grabbed the suturing equipment from the LissaM and pushed him aside.
Good.
She deftly stitched up the artery and removed the appendix. Dargo, who had come to his senses somewhat, lent what help he could, suctioning the excess blood from the gash.
God, whoa.
What a story, yeah.
How do you suture something?
I mean, isn't that just a fancy term for, like, sewing shut?
Follow-up question. How do you sew
Something shut? I mean...
No, I mean just in general.
Oh, you
Like,
take
what's a
a
good
needle...
stitch?
Well... Oh, I don't know
it's
about
not
names
the
of
standard
stitch.
wave of like down and then under and then up again.
I would go through and over, through and over, through and over. Like if you want to close off a
making
tube.
sixes.
Kind of. Yeah, you can do it crosswise as well. But basically, a stitch through, then go up and over, and then back, and then just
Right,
kind of like so. Half the wire, the thread is going through, and then it goes up and over, and then you can close off a tube. I mean, I don't know.
Suctioning the excess blood from the gas. Oh, good, they've got suction. It was only when, after the entire wound had been sewn shut and was only oozing blood instead of spewing, Jesus, did Erin take a step back and look around. She looked down at the hands and her shirt front. Both were stained with red human blood. She looked at Darko, who was gazing at his own tainted garments. The floor was slippery and slick with so much of the human's life essence. Erin stepped away from the table, hands to her face, not noticing she was getting his blood on her cheeks. Her mind found it hard to comprehend the carnage that her eyes were being forced to see.
She then rushed to John's pale face and lay her head on his chest. There was a weak, slow heartbeat. It was faint, but it was there. She and Dargo had gently lifted the unconscious human onto a biobed and wrapped his torso. Then, as the Luxon sat watching John, Erin frantically scrubbed the table and the floor and anywhere else that the human's blood had spilt to rid her mind of the awful events.
I mean, cleanup's important. Okay, and now what follows is a sound effect.
No, that's okay.
You're going to hear it.
Well, probably, but we're going to wait for
because Kay has grabbed his plant squirt bottle, and Her Majesty. I mean, okay, so he's checking out the range, which I think is going to be about
6 meters.
6 meters, yeah, thereabouts. Her Majesty is sort of sitting by the feed instrument, doing the sort of lioness like shoulder wiggle as she prepares to pounce on whatever food may come out of it. And Kay is about to perform a maneuver that's supposed to discourage her from her evening aria.
It usually shuts her up for a little bit.
Well, the mere threat of it seems to have worked at this point.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes she'll just like look at me and then she'll see me holding it and then she'll be like, oh, time to be quiet. And the moment I put it away, she starts again. But I mean, that's what you say. You can't teach a cat to not do something. You can only teach you to not do it while you're not looking.
Okay, so if you hear a sudden squirting noise, you know that it's not
Erin cleaning up the blood.
Oh.
They call me Quick Draw McGraw.
Yeah. Oh, good aim. You really sort of lead the target there. You can tell that you're a marksmanship trainer. Oh. That had been long ago, and now Erin's son sat, waiting for any signs of life from her prostrate companion. Except he's more than a companion to me, she thought. Ever so much more than I had hoped to find out in these uncharted territories, irreversibly contaminated.
Erin stroked the limp hair that had fallen across a pale, furrowed brow, not knowing or caring if it were her own or John's. His hand still felt warm, and every now and then his breathing would become laboured, as if he were in the clutches of some mighty nightmare. She ached to rid him of his terrors in what she thought might as well be his last arms.
Slowly, a solitary tear fell off a Sebastian face to a human cheek, and Erin lay her head on Crichton's chest and cried. Sleep crept upon her, eventually, against her will, and she gave up resisting the blessed darkness into which she was enveloped.
Erin? Erin? She heard double, if that was possible. Her mind was still stuck in the depth of REM sleep. The soft voice calling her out of the night was hard to ignore. She opened her eyes to find a pair of pained blue ones gazing at her. John had awakened, although he was still feverish and sweating. His lids at half-mast.
I bet that's not all that was at
She stared at his face. Full and alive, here we go, after so long of being cold and shut to the world. It might have been a microt or a whole cycle, but she felt as if it were all the time in the universe she needed.
Erin? John asked again in a weak voice, confused. What happened after... How long has it been since... Where's...
Erin placed a finger to his lips. Shh. No speaking now. Shh, no speaking now. Just rest, Crichton. Just sleep. I'll be here when you awake.
John gazed at her for a moment, then spoke again. Why were you lying on my chest? He asked with true bewilderment.
A low, wonderful laugh escaped her lips, and she enveloped him as heartily as she dared in a great embrace. His hot breath upon her neck only reminded her of his wonderful, living, breathing self.
So impressive. Not even breaking stride. Just casually water squirting your cat. Impressive. Please continue.
His hot breath upon her neck only reminded her of this wonderful, living, breathing self, and her emotions could no longer be kept in check. She gave into her pangs of feeling and began to sob, heaving sobs that wrecked her body and threatened to knock them both off the bed. She was dimly aware of a weak arm gripping her back and rubbing her shoulder blades.
She smelled his human scent, breathed in his life, revelled in his alien yet familiar magnificence. Wow, really piling it on here.
Yeah.
I thought I'd lost you, she cried softly, and I would never have been able to tell you how much that I...
Of how much I loved you, Crichton finished her thought, and as she stared at his face, she realized that he was not finishing her thought only, but adding his own true convictions.
Oh.
Erin stroked her lover's pale face, and as they gently kissed, John thought to himself, now I could definitely get used to this.
La fin.
Yeah.
Which is not the traditional French way,
No,
but
just
okay.
Yes.
This was a lot of fun.
It was also quite... Yes. I mean, we might have to put a little warning.
A little content warning.
Yes. There's vivid
That
description of surgery.
But, I mean, I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, I suspect it's well-researched.
Yes.
Like, it seemed quite confident and plausible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd like to think that I'd have that sort of clarity of mind if I ever faced that situation.
Yes. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. And on a human being, then... I mean, we have a general idea of where things are. We've seen those anatomical dolls with all the organs in there. We stand a good chance of guessing which part of it that we're looking at. But having to do that on an alien, where you have no idea what or where it is.
Once again, like the guts are the sort of easiest part. Okay, so
I know, but
around here,
I know
it's just all.
But you don't know how
tube.
aliens are configured and how they do it.
No, but you can explain it to someone. Like, how would you explain it to someone? Like, it's just.
Well,
so I've got a big cavity
Yeah.
with some organs and one big tube that goes all over the place. Now, the tube's got one little finger off the side
Right.
that's messed up, and just get rid of that one little finger. It's easy.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, okay,
Sorry,
so
this is where Rolf says, it's complicated.
I mean, Worf does several medical procedures that he's only mildly trained for, but yes.
Did you deliberately call him Worf?
Sorry? I thought we were talking about Star Trek now.
Oh, are we?
Oh.
Wait, which...
Oh.
I mean, he does deliver Keiko's baby, I believe.
Right, yeah. Which he had only ever done once in a holodeck simulation.
Yeah, well...
Yeah.
I mean, he grew up with humans. He would have learned, like, human CPR.
I suppose, yeah.
I mean, you know, like, most people know the basics for those sort of things. If a person is delivering a baby, then it requires a certain
But there's a difference
posture
if you've actually seen something resembling it yourself, or you just have to do it by word of mouth.
What are you going to do? You're going to give up?
No, of course not.
Right, okay. So you give it the best effort you've got with information at hand.
So, thank you for joining us. This was
The
Trouble with Humans by LissaM.
Thank you for pulling us out. This was really intense.
And we hope to see you again for another episode of Tales of the Uncharted Territory.
Yeah, that's definitely going to need a...
Content warning, yeah.